Well, good evening. I'm James.mov. If you looked at the special issue, I was lucky enough, I have a poem on page 11, one about the pigeon in the library, and a poem on page 31, and a picture on page 40, which is how this all started for me with the Hope and Shadows project with the photography part, which was really kind of a surprise to me. I thought I'd just give you a little taste of that, jumping in the door with the poem, and here's the poem. I've got one that nobody has ever heard before. There have been times in my life when I've dealt with the world. I have hustled the boys, I have bedded the girls. I've gone days without cares, whole moons without pain, glorifying my body at the expense of my brain. Who'd prefer I abstain from this worldly pursuit, this orgy of stuff, of pleasure, of gain? Who'd prefer I'd engage with my neighbors and friends, with heart, mind, and soul, and with passions aflame? So that's the kind of thing that Sean and Daniel have had to put up with. If you read the editorial by Daniel and Kevin, it's definitely Daniel the one that mentions about countless times when people are running into the office. Sean and Daniel man that little outpost, and there's nowhere for them to hide. Yeah. And I was not nearly as relaxed at the beginning stages of this as I am at this moment, which is kind of surprising. So I wanted to make a note of how this happened for me and what it meant to me. Hope and Shadows was where I started. I came down to the downtown east side after living for years in Westminster. I was briefly homeless last year, and I'm now homed and living in the downtown east side. And I was working some things out. There were reasons why I wanted to be here, and then suddenly the Hope and Shadows came along, and it was like a way for me to express something, anything. And when I got involved with the Hope and Shadows program, I was lucky enough to be picked in the top 40, and that's that picture that's on page 40 here. And then when I became involved with them, all of a sudden if you're selling the Hope and Shadows calendar, you can also sell Megaphone. But Megaphone also publishes poetry, and so lo and behold, I thought, well, I actually have more to do with poetry than I ever did with photography, and so I started submitting things. And the first poem that's in there, I don't even have a copy of it. It's called Hunter Gatherers. It's kind of like a coming out for me, because even in this poem I just read, there's tensions in my life that have always been in my life, living in two worlds, the university crowd and the party crowd. Working on construction and having a university degree, living in the downtown east side, and I haven't joined in with the workshops because I wasn't in a recovery program, but I really needed a place where I could express the things, express where I was at, and express the transition in my life from working in construction and being married, and my wife passed away, and now what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And it's just amazing. I mean, one of the few things that I brought to the downtown east side with me is my Christian belief. And I mean, I thank God every day that I have a seat at the table. But then I look around here and I see what a table it is. I meet guys like Sean and Daniel and Kevin all on the same team. You know, and I remember when I was going to university, I associated with people that were creative and writers, and my friends were creative and writers. But that's the only place that I saw that much creativity in one place. And then on the other side of the coin, the contributors are amazing. I mean, the people that are, you know, like they say in the editorial, you know, legitimate talent and a legitimate means of expression and a legitimate means of reaching out to the people that are here. So here's like the next step for me in this story. This is now part of the story again. Very rarely have I spoken in public like this, and it's now the next step for me to step out. So Megaphone really gives us an opportunity to step out into a different world, to step out into a different way of thinking, to just step right out of, you know, the reality as it is, and experience a different kind of reality which becomes as real. Oh, and before I go, I'd like to read to you this pigeon in the library poem. It's on page 11, and this is one I really like. They kind of happened, and this one kind of happened to me one day. I saw a pigeon at the main library in the atrium, neither inside nor outside. He had a growth on his right foot, and he or she was limping. How like me, I thought. Not that I have a growth on my right foot, but I had been limping. Later, when I saw him, her, she was walking more quickly, more nimble of foot as the library crowd increased. How like me. Do you do that on purpose, becoming naturally more active as the house fills up? Is this beautiful space your fishbowl? Or are you careful, mindful to not give a shit? How like me.